Party on, Joe.
Party on, Justin.
What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Uncultured Universe, the podcast where friends and lovers show each other movies, TV, music, books, anything to get a little bit more cultured. I am your excellent host, Justin, and with me in the totally gnarly and bogus uncultured seat is Joe. Welcome.
I just want people to know Justin pulled this wig situation on me 30 seconds before we started.
Last set.
And I looked around for a blonde wig, and we ultimately decided that I would be the Rob Lowe in this situation, even though spiritually I'm Garth in this partnership.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is no big deal. It's no bummer to me or anybody else. It's all good. If you couldn't glean what we're doing today, today we're going to be diving into the nostalgic and grungy world of the early '90s with the SNL skit turned hit feature film Wayne's World from 1992.
Possibly one of the most or more popular SNL skits turned feature films. Like, this is like kind of the one, right? Even had a sequel.
Yeah, we will get into those bits of information here. But yeah, so we are in a brand new month. We're in June. Happy Pride, y'all. And what better way to celebrate Pride than just go full in and talk about SNL? Uh, this has been like a happy kind of kismet moment. We kind of talked and skirted around some semblance of SNL stuff before in the past. And I think just on an off chance text a couple months ago, I asked Joe if he'd ever seen Wayne's World, and he said no. And he volleyed back with another movie that I had never seen. That's also I don't think you meant it to be an SNL related.
We both were just kind of like throwing out options, and I think we both realized at the same time that we had just threw out two like movies that came from SNL skits, and we immediately were like, SNL miniseries.
We're doing it, baby. So first out the gate, we're jumping in with this movie, Wayne's World. Joe, you had never seen it. 1992, you were nothing on the world, not a blip.
It was negative numbers,
but a twinkle. And I was only like a commanding 5 years old. So,
God.
But I do remember when this movie came out. I definitely didn't see it in theaters, but I remember seeing it on TV shortly thereafter. And specifically coming with it was Queen, my introduction to Queen. This movie giving me my first taste of Bohemian Rhapsody. And, a fun little fact is that because of this movie, that song did better than it did when it first hit the charts in 1975.
It is kind of like one of the iconic moments from this movie. I think I need to go back and like watch the actual SNL, the Saturday Night Live skits in this case, because I'm really interested in like what they brought from the skits versus like what is actually for the movies. Obviously, the show itself, them in the basement, is from the skits, but yeah, the Queen bit is them kind of jamming out in the car. That I did know was from this movie. It kind of like put Bohemian Rhapsody back on the map.
Let's see what do I have here for that? It's in here somewhere in the notes. We'll stumble back across it, but it skyrocketed that song back to, I think, number 2, which is way higher than it did when it debuted.
That rocks.
Almost 20 years prior. But yeah, this movie is amazing. It's so fun and ridiculous and such a time capsule of the 90s. I'm excited to unpack it with you. So let's start with some of the parts that we normally kick around with. This movie was directed by Penelope Spheris. Some other notable films she did, I don't know if you've seen The Beverly Hillbillies or The Little Rascals or Black Sheep. So it was kind of like those tight early to mid 90s kind of like offbeat comedies.
So growing up as the homeschooler in the woods that I was, I watched the original black and white versions of the Beverly Hillbillies and the Little Rascals, because those are based on like old little shorts and TV shows.
Amazing.
So I think I've seen the modern Little Rascals too. Modern from the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's 30 years ago. Um, yeah, I remember those movies too, and they came out. I saw all of those, so I'm intimately familiar with Penelope Spheres' work. Surprisingly, this movie was written by Mike Myers, of course, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie and Terry Turner, best known for creating the sitcoms Third Rock from the Sun and That '70s Show, which they
This,
had success later with.
I mean, the movie obviously does have like a sitcom-y vibe.
Mhm.
It's I like how you can see like they had a certain amount of um a certain amount of like foundation from the Saturday Night Live skits that inspired the movie. Obviously, you have these characters, you have like what they're doing, what their traits are, and then outside of that, in order to make this a movie, you have the two central characters kind of like playing around with breaking the fourth wall and kind of doing different things in a very sitcom-y way. It reminded me kind of like of like a Nickelodeon show from the 90s, like a Pete and Pete type
Yeah,
situation, where
absolutely.
it's like it's for kids, but they're doing some interesting stuff. It's very meta. It's very like it's not like anything you've seen before.
It definitely wasn't, and it was such a like a unique kind of twist on what you would expect to see and experience from like a Wayne's World movie,
Hmm.
a skit, like a throwaway skit that you see every so often on SNL. Um, yeah, I love the turn that they did of like, no, we're gonna break the fourth wall and like have these characters kind of carry us along their journey while we see what's going on through their eyes, which is pretty cool. Um, yeah, I love that part about it, honestly. And it does feel like predecessors of like more modern television of like The Office or Parks and Rec or something like that,
Hmm.
where it's even though it's not like interview style, it is like breaking the fourth wall and like you said, sitcom kind of situations.
It's a little wink at the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big
Um,
hefty wink at the camera. But yeah, this movie was also produced by Lorne Michaels, of course. He's fronting the cash for the TV, and he's going to put it in front of the big screen, baby. Of course, the creator and producer of Saturday Night Live himself, starring Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Tia Carrera, Rob Lowe, Laura Flynn, Laura Flynn Boyle, and with several notable cameos from Meatloaf, Ed O'Neill, Robert Patrick, Alice Cooper, and Chris Farley. Stacked cast, incredible.
most of my notes as I was watching this movie are just like all caps someone's name when they came on screen.
Yeah.
Like I have like an all caps Laura Flynn when she came on.
Laura Flynn.
I think I have LOL Ed O'Neill in a couple different spots.
His character is so off the rails. He's like, all right, I know exactly what kind of character I'm playing. It's like, you are secret serial killer. And he's done. Got it. I got the character.
like
What
the
are you gonna
writers room for this movie was probably so fun because I mean you have so much of a base from Saturday Night Live, you really just have to like fill in the rest of the time. I mean the story of the movie itself, I'll get into it with the plot
I can't
description.
wait.
It's fairly simple. I'm hoping it'll be easy to explain. And then in between, you kind of just have these like mini scenes that are in the style of skits. You have like
Yeah.
joke punchline,
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it was kind of reminiscent to watching like an hour and a half long SNL skit.
Right, but, like, obviously, like, big like, I don't know, like, the best way to describe it is just, like, you take the TV and you just throw it outside, and it's
With
just
the
there,
outdoors.
and it's just there. But
They have the sky in this one.
yeah, which is really fun and neat. So many iconic pieces, to this movie that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, this movie came out on Valentine's Day in 1992.
Oh,
Um,
Valentine's.
yeah, super cool. Budget of $20 million. Box office, Joe, 183 million.
Yeah.
Cleaned up, dude. This is insane. It remains the highest grossing film based on a SNL skit.
Hmm.
Um, so this movie was the second movie based off an SNL skit. Can you tell me what the first one was? Do you have any idea?
It's not the one that I've picked for my next episode, is it?
Nope.
The first. Okay, so not. telling which one I have picked. I'm just going to start listing them off, and I'll try and guess. So
Go ahead.
there's Wayne's World. There's the second Wayne's World. There's Night at the Roxbury. There is Superstar. There is. God, is that it? Is it Night at the Roxbury?
No, this is a movie from 12 years prior, from 1980. It was the Blues
1980.
Brothers.
Oh, that was an SNL skit.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen the Blues Brothers.
I haven't either. I've seen some of it, and I've seen like the live performance at Universal Studios, where like they come through and they do their song and dance in front of everybody. It's pretty fun. But
I guess that
yeah,
makes sense because like Dan Aykroyd and Belushi were both on SNL.
like the first season or something, like the first handful of seasons. Yeah. But yeah, pretty cool that this still like is the highest grossing of all the SNL skit turned movies, kind of
Mhm.
thing. But when this movie was released of the whole year 1992, this was the 10th highest grossing film of that year. Could you name some of the other movies from 1992, do you think?
1992. You want me to
Yeah.
name like highest grossing ones?
Yeah. See if you can get some of the list. Some of the
Okay.
top 10.
I'll try and name some, and then I want some clues.
Okay, you got it.
Is Beauty and the Beast on there?
No.
Fuck. Was that the year previous?
It's the year after.
92. Is it like Unforgiven?
No. Keep going.
All right.
You were in the ballpark with Disney. What's another early 90s Disney flick?
Early 90s Disney. I mean, early 90s Disney is Beauty and the Beast. Is it
Well, yeah.
like.
Okay, so Beauty and the Beast I think was actually before this one. I think Beauty and the Beast was 91.
Oh, is it Aladdin?
It was Aladdin. Yeah,
Aladdin was big.
Aladdin was the number one highest grossing movie of 1992.
That rocks. What else? Give me some clues.
Let's see. And I, Joe, I will always love you.
That's The Bodyguard. That was
Yeah.
high grosser. Wow.
Yeah. Recently convicted felon was a part of this movie.
Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
The first of the cast of Home Alone 2 to New York to be a convicted felon, Donald Trump.
Amazing. Let's see. That's the number 3. We're just going down the list here. Let's see. This one has an infamous vagina shot.
Oh, Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct.
I'm learning so much. I love this.
I know, this is great. I think this was the one where they brought in Joe Pesci. They introduced his character. Mel Gibson.
Well, not Home Alone 2. Is this Mel Gibson, Danny Glover? What's it called? Lethal Weapon?
Yep, the third one.
I've never seen those.
Yeah, I think I only saw this one, I think, the third one. This one, I know you haven't seen this one. It is the sequel to the 1989 Michael Keaton superhero flick.
Is this Batman Returns?
Batman Returns, number 6.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it, but we could probably do it for this podcast.
Yeah. And then let's see. You Can't Handle the Truth.
You
Can't Handle the Truth.
Fucking, is that Tom Cruise?
A little more than a couple. What's a little more than a couple?
A Few Good Men.
Yeah, there you go. This was Whoopi Goldberg Putting on the Habit.
Oh, Sister Act.
Yeah. And then number 9, I think this was Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves.
What? Is this like Point Break?
No, this is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. So 1992 was a wild year for films.
That is kind of an awesome year.
And then this one comes in and solidifies the top 10 as the 10th highest grossing of that year, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember seeing this movie and watching it a ton as a kid. I used to think, honestly, that the sequel was funnier growing up. They lean into like more gags and more like visual kind of stuff. Obviously, they have a bigger budget. It came out the next year, I think, in 93.
Right. I think they turned that around quick.
Yeah, they did. Immediate green light kind of a thing. But like on subsequent rewatches, this one I think is like more of my comfort kind of thing. It just hits better for me for some reason. Even though there are still some funnier bits, like the characters feel more lived in. They feel more comfortable behind the camera. There's some like awkward bits in this one where it's just like, oh, they're still kind of figuring it out.
It's it's kind of cool how they do it, because like the movie itself feels like a movie that these characters would make. I mean, I'll do the plot description in a second. We can talk about like what's the actual concept of this movie. But like these two guys have a public access show that is like kind of weirdly high quality, that they run out of their basement. They
Yeah.
film it with their friends, and it's kind of just like a talk show.
Yeah.
But
And it,
they do a bunch of like weird segments. There's like visual gags and stuff, and like early 90s like graphics on the screen. And the movie in general, like outside of the show, has that feeling as well. I mean, there's the moment at the very end where they kind of like Scooby-Doo a few different
yeah.
endings and just keep on like rewinding, and they're like, okay, let's try a happy ending, let's
Yeah.
try a super sad ending, let's try a realistic ending.
Yeah. Yeah, that part is so memorable to me, of like the apocalyptic ending and the Scooby-Doo ending and the super happy mega feel good ending. Um
It just makes you feel like they wanted to like imbue these two characters as like being behind the camera in addition to being in front of the camera too. Like they're kind of like infecting this entire movie.
yeah, I like how they don't like they reference the camera, they talk to the camera, and they're like it's like there's that one point where he's kind of like losing everything, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to dump on you." It's like, "Hey, we're cool. We'll figure it out, you know?" But it's not like, "Hey, we have a documentary kind of a thing crew." It's
Yeah.
just like the camera without a head kind of a thing of just
Is
there.
is it Ed O'Neill who like tries to talk to the camera and they're like,
Yeah. It's
no,
like, "No, no, no. We only talk to the camera."
only me and Garth get to do
Yeah.
that.
When that scene starts, they come in, Ed O'Neill looks at the camera and he does this. He's just like, "Hey, over here." And the camera's just like, "Okay. Yes, we'll
It's
follow you."
so funny. And then
Uh,
Garth is always trying to like motion to the camera to like tell it a secret or something.
so good. They're so awkward and so like just weird early 20s kids, which is ridiculous. Before we go any further, let's check out this trailer, and then you can give me the plot description once you feel the essence of the movie
I
move
gotta let
through
it
you.
flow through me. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. So much fun.
Justin, I say it every episode, but you are just like in the bag on these lo-fi.
I'm feeling myself with it, you know?
Yeah. It's you're getting better and better at it. I want to just like watch these as shorts. Like I want to display them in a museum.
Can we do that? Can we go to the High Museum in Atlanta and just present them
Yeah.
with a USB drive of all of these and say,
We like slam it down on the desk and be like,
"You
call
will show these." Yeah. Amazing. Um, yeah, so now that you have felt the bohemian rhapsody wash over you, I'm gonna give you a minute and you're gonna give me the plot description of Wayne's World from 1992. Joe, are you ready?
I'll only need 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll hold it. I'll hold it to you.
We'll
Here you
see.
go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Wayne's World is about Wayne and Garth. They are two kind of like slacker friends who live in their parents' basement in the middle of Illinois. They run like a public access talk show basically with their friends. This catches the eye of Rob Lowe, who's like this shady businessman. He wants to buy them out and kind of like use them to sell products. This he's like in cahoots with this like arcade person. Basically, they join up with Rob Lowe. They meet Cassandra, who's like a musical act, rock and roll lady. Cassandra and Wayne fall in love. Cassandra also becomes a client of Rob Lowe. Basically, Rob Lowe tries to modernize their show, and they don't like it, and so they get away from Rob Lowe, and they basically get Cassandra on in like onto the radar of like a music producer too? Question mark.
Pretty much.
And there's kind of a happy ending at the end.
It's great. Yeah, that's all you need.
I like.
I'm gonna see how many times.
I
I'm
fell
gonna see how
apart
many
in the middle
times you
there.
said Rob Lowe.
Yeah, I really got into Rob Lowe.
Well, like you said, you are embodying Rob Lowe right now.
Got into my own head there.
He hasn't aged a day from this movie.
He looks the exact same.
The exact same. What a character. What a guy.
Insane slicked back hair.
It like that helmet is ridiculous. But let's talk about that for a second. Let's go into some of the performances of this movie, some of the standouts. I love Rob Lowe's character. He's so skeevy and greasy with obviously yes the slick back hair, not too like a stone's throw away from Patrick Bateman of American Psycho kind of style, you know.
Okay,
Uh,
one of my questions here was, what is Rob Lowe's job? Who does he work for?
who do you work for? I think he's kind of like a TV ad exec or something
Right,
like
because
that.
he like acquires Wayne's World, the show, like he buys them or he buys like the channel that they're on or something. But then he also works with the guy who
Arcade.
wants to advertise his arcade, but he doesn't work for either of them. He's kind of this weird like
Like
third party in between
puppet.
them.
Yeah, classic management white guy kind of stuff of like
Yeah.
you're a struggling arcade business. You need marketing to the young kids.
Hmm.
Luckily, young kids I mean, it's the exact scene that when Garth finds his daily planner and it's like Thursday, find local cable access show and exploit it. Ooh, I hate to be those guys. And he's essentially just exploiting them for free advertising for this guy. He bought them for cheap, kind of a thing. You know, $10,000 maybe. Uh,
He's moving stuff around. He's a money guy.
he's a mover and shaker.
Even
Um,
though like an arcade wouldn't be the craziest thing to advertise on Wayne's World, it feels like this relationship between the arcade
could have
businessman
worked.
and Wayne's World could have worked if Rob Lowe wasn't like an asshole.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because I
it
think
did it did lead to one of or just the laugh out loud moment for me, which kind of came out of nowhere and I wasn't expecting it. It's Garth finally standing up to Rob Lowe's like little assistant guy and trying to convince him to like come over to their side. And Rob Lowe's name is Benjamin, and he goes, "If Benjamin were an ice cream flavor, he'd be pralines and dick."
Dick. It's so
The
good. I
way
love
Dana
it.
Carvey says
Okay, let's talk about Dana Carvey for a second. I think Dana Carvey is the MVP of this movie.
yeah.
He steals every scene. His line delivery, he's so lived in with this like on the spectrum kind of character, and he's just fucking hilarious. Every scene is laugh out loud with him.
Garth Algar, he's like he's a barnacle on Wayne in terms of just like always sticking with Wayne, even though he's he has his own ideas and his own like world that he's living in, but he cannot function without Wayne. He is like the ultimate sidekick in this place.
Yeah.
And Dana Carvey, I know, is like prolific on the SNL side of things, but the pretty much the only thing I know him from is Master of Disguise. I'm going to say it. We watched that so much growing up. I could probably quote it line for line, even though it's probably unwatchable if I went back now.
I know nothing of that movie except for the trailer where he's like a turtle and he's doing the turtle kind of thing,
Oh,
and it's
God.
absurd.
We may have to add that to the list.
I
Master of Disguise is an insane movie.
It seems like it. It's that fever pitch mid to early 90s kind of or mid to late 90s just throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. There was like a comedy special that I watched so much growing up of Dana Carvey's. He had a stand-up special or something on HBO, and I just remember thinking he was so fucking funny. Um, Even though, like, by comparison, Mike Myers had the more successful career, I guess, of just like a actor, performer, that kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, those Shrek checks keep clearing.
Just keep coming in. Like
Those aren't
Shrek,
going to stop
Austin
anytime soon.
Powers, like those two gravy trains. And then lest we forget his appearance from Inglorious Bastards, which I think is amazing. But yeah, Dana Carvey is a goddamn mastermind in this role. I love that he's just like some kind of like savant when it comes to like computer hacking. That ridiculous graphic of the satellites on his computer is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
Mike Myers is kind of the quote unquote like more traditionally handsome one of the two.
mhm.
But Dana Carvey was maybe one of our first like handsome rat men that we're obsessed with these days.
Yeah.
Like in the culture, how every guy kind of looks like a rodent a little bit, but
Correct,
they're like
correct.
hot.
Mhm.
Um,
Hot rat.
Dana Carvey, early '90s energy.
Hot rat
Yeah,
energy. I did remember reading that, like, in order to get this skit and movie up and running, Mike Myers had to lean on a little bit more of the star power of Dana Carvey at the time on SNL. He was more arguably the more established, more well-known comedian at the time. Like infamously, Mike Myers is notorious for like being hard to work with, and
really.
yeah,
Oh
like
no.
like a big dick on set kind of a thing, which is heartbreaking in a way.
Don't tell
Um,
me this.
I'm gonna, just ridiculous demands and things like that. But like he was reluctant to share the limelight with Dana Carvey because he's like, this is my idea, this is my character, this is my story. But honestly, you need that the yin and yang
Yeah,
of both of these characters for it to work.
this is a story about best friends.
Yeah, it really is when you boil it when it comes down to it, Joe. It's a
So
story about best friends.
when it comes down to it, um, I gave that like kind of horrible plot description, but tell me more about like what is the skit that inspired the movie? So the way these like SNL movies typically work is like you have a series of like recurring sketches on Saturday Night Live. We're probably committing crimes calling it a skit versus a sketch. I don't know what the proper name here is.
I've seen both
Yeah,
terms.
yeah. We need some improv folks to tell us. You have these like bits on Saturday Night Live where these characters kind of recur, and obviously Wayne's World was part of that.
Yeah,
And so within the movie, you have segments where they're filming their show, and they have guests on. They have kind of their catchphrases. I imagine that is all the Saturday Night Live bit. Like the
yeah,
Saturday Night Live is them filming the show.
yeah. There, tons of bits and gags from the early skits and everything like that definitely made its way into the film. Like the various off the wall guest appearances of like the local inventor or whatever, or the law enforcement guy and the police chief
Yeah.
shows up. Crazy musical guests and things like that. Some of the gags of like the extreme close up and like the dream sequence, the diddle-loo, diddle-loo, was a thing. So like they were pretty faithful to like even the layout of the
Right.
the basement and stuff like that. But just like zoomed out and magnified to like put it in a house and put it on a block and put it in a city. Like you have to do when you make these kinds of movies. But yeah, they were pretty faithful to that. The history of like the Wayne character, because this is Mike Myers' brainchild kind of thing. He had been workshopping this character for a long time. Mike Myers, of course, is Canadian, super Canadian guy. Um, he was on several kind of like shows on local access at that time. One called City TV, another one called It's Only Rock and Roll.
Hmm.
Skit kind of improv type of stuff. And
Yeah,
that's
there
where he was
were
like workshopping this character.
there were like essentially versions of SNL in Canada at the time.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of folks came out of what was it like SCTV, like Catherine O'Hara and
Yeah,
folks.
yeah, yeah. That and then the Second City kind of
Mhm.
like merged into there too. But yeah, in there, those two shows is where he was like workshopping this like surfer, slacker, rocker kind of vibe, sort of guy that's just like that, like knows some things, but is just kind of majorly aloof and all about like partying, is like his whole thing. Like a lot of those earlier skits are like pretty cringy, like, to be completely honest, but he's still, like, workshopping and figuring out the character. I think by the time, obviously, they hit the movie and, like, some of the later skits on SNL, or sketches or bits or whatever that you wanna the fuck you wanna call it.
Scenes,
S
short films.
Scene, by the time they hit there, definitely by the sequel, like, they've hit their stride. They know who this kind of character is. He's more self-aware than, like, he originally lets on, that kinda stuff. Smarter than he appears, that kind of a thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like the main traction came from Saturday Night Live when he partnered reluctantly with Dana Carvey to share the limelight and to kind of like evolve and like revolve the whole story dynamic between two best friends, essentially. That kind of a thing. But yeah, there were 19, I think, total sketches from 1989 to 1994, um, which isn't really a lot when you think about it, I think. Um, But, there was another appearance in 2011 when Dana Carvey came back to host, so that makes 20. And then the last appearance that I could find was from 2015 during the SNL 40th anniversary show, um,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool. So 21 in total Wayne's World sketches, which is
That's like
pretty
a
cool.
movie in and of itself.
And then and yeah, right, and then 2 movies. I think they've had, like, various appearances on, like, award shows and things like that, which is pretty cool. But, yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of the long and short of the history of this.
I like how well developed the characters and their relationships are in this movie. It it kind of made me think of Napoleon Dynamite in terms of like here's a slice of small town American life, and here's these like weird people we're gonna be sticking around with. But I also liked how like Wayne and Garth are kind of slackers. They don't really have jobs. They live in their parents' basements. They're doing this cable access show, but they're not like unpopular. They're within their circles. They're kind of like revered, and they have like a ton of friends. They just want to kind of party, and they have passions and they have ambitions. It's more
Yeah.
a story about these two guys who just like don't fit into social norms in a way.
Yeah, like, they have their local famous. They're,
Mhm.
hyper, anywhere they go to their local bar or their local, like, metal venue or whatever, and everybody recognizes them. They go to the Stan Mikita's Donuts place, and everybody knows who they are, which is pretty cool, right? And that's like a very it fits for these like they're supposed to be like their early 20s, and that's like when you're supposed to be kind of like figuring yourself out, your place in the world, that kind of thing. So yeah, I love that you caught on to that of like they have these bigger ambitions, they have these goals in mind, um, but it's like it's attainable goals. It's not like I want to be on a billboard and famous and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, like I want that guitar and I want to do this show full time and get paid for it. It's really cool.
They're like immature and gross, but in like a weirdly like pure kind of way. There's like a
Yeah.
I wrote down a phrase. I don't know if it makes any sense, but I was like the 90s, a time of noble horniness. Like he
Yeah.
like they're making like boner jokes. But
It's
he's
like cute.
also
Cute boner jokes.
he's also like very much wanting to make it work with Cassandra, and he's like revering her in a way, and it's I thought it was like an interest the movie holds an interesting place in kind of like the spectrum of some movies that we've talked about, like this movie and something like Can't Hardly Wait, and then
Mm.
getting more into like the 2000s 2010s. It's like you have these like quote unquote raunchy comedies, And as you move from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, like more and more folks are allowed to be like in on the joke, you
Yeah.
know? And so you get something like Wayne's World where it's like, okay, the slackers, they're not like super like pretty boys or like classic heroes or anything like that, but they're having a good time. They're making these boner jokes. And then you get more into like Tu Wong Fu, which we've covered before, where it's like we're bringing in like homosexuality and queer culture as part of this kind of like raunch element, and then you get more into like um Can't Hardly Wait, where it's these younger characters, but the not necessarily Jennifer Love Hewitt, but like some of the female characters have more of like a voice in
Yeah.
that level of like teen raunchiness. I don't know. It holds a kind of an interesting place in that spectrum.
Yeah, it's unique, right? It's I see it as like Canadian gentlemanly, like gentle crude comedy kind of a thing, instead
Right.
of like commenting directly about, the object of your affections, like body or whatever. You just like make a noise and you say schwing, and like you get it, right? But
It
without being too graphic.
I mean, it's summed up in like the segment of their show where they're basically like saluting babes. They'll just talk through like babes in pop culture, like uh who's the model that they're
Oh,
talking about?
Claudia Schiffer. Yeah.
Claudia Schiffer, where you're like, okay, like it's these two guys like making boner jokes about Claudia Schiffer, but then you're also kind of like, yeah, Claudia Schiffer is a babe. Like, go Claudia Schiffer. Like they are fully in support of Claudia Schiffer here.
Yeah, if you try to do that kind of movie like in the late 2010s, that kind of a thing, or mid 2010s, kind of like, and I'll circle back around to it, of like the era when they did Superbad.
Mm-hmm.
um like the raunch would be turned up a lot more, and
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be as subtle and as gentlemanly
Right.
as this is. So like I equate this movie to kind of to Superbad in a way, where it is about two guys, unconventional attraction, that kind of a thing, or attractiveness, and they're just two buds trying to figure out their way in the world. But there is like boner jokes and like sex jokes, but it's turned up way more because of the time that it was released. So like if you swapped those movies on a timeline, they would be very different, obviously.
And I guess like my thought is like the 2010s and beyond, like the raunch is turned up more, but it's also like spread more evenly among the different types of characters, different genders, different sexualities, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
which is like what you would want to see. I mean, that's progress.
Yeah.
We love
Equality,
a
baby.
raunchy movie. Just let everyone be raunchy, you know?
Yeah. We all got raunch. Yeah.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, y'all. We all got our raunches on.
We did
Um,
circle back. We
we
circled
made it.
back Wayne's World to Pride.
We made it there. Cheers to that. I'm getting near the end of this thing.
That looks incredible.
It's delicious. And I have more in the freezer. This is great. Um, so I was obviously inspired by the ridiculous drink that Garth orders when they go to the bar when they first meet Rob Lowe's character. Um, that thing is insane. That was filled, I think, when they filmed it, it was blue Gatorade.
Just the ultimate tiki drink.
I know, amazing. So I wanted to do something akin to that. So this is kind of like a pina colada swirly mix. It's like half pina colada, half like blue curacao rum. It's very rummy. It's very good. But
Nice.
I'm calling it the Wayne Swirled.
Oh,
Uh,
that's smart.
so it's like a white and blue kind of swirly frozen drink, and it's fucking delicious.
Oh,
Cheers.
wow.
Yeah.
Looks like Justin's eating blue paste.
But it's cold and it's delicious, and it goes down the gullet real nice.
Um,
What do you got?
I got a little drink here. It's kind of a take on the Negroni. And I named it after one of the bits that happened in this movie. So there's a point in the movie where Rob Lowe has kind of started to finance them, and so Wayne and Garth and their crew of buds who do the cameras are in this like major production studio, and they're trying to figure out the concept of like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, except you don't say the 2 and the 1.
Yeah.
And like there's so much back and forth around like, why does the 2 and the 1 not get said? How many times do we have to practice this?
You
And then
just don't.
like Wayne and Garth like can't get it. And so what I'm calling this drink is a 5-4-3, because that's ultimately what we land on here. It is 5 parts gin, 4
Oh,
parts Campari, 3 parts vermouth.
amazing. That's
Thank you.
genius. Yeah, I love that bit so much. I don't think the 3 like crew characters, or maybe some of them do, but I don't think all of them come back for the sequel, which sucks because I think
Oh,
they're really fun. They're kind of like nice background pieces. They just kind of fill out the vibe of just like slacker dudes hanging out. You know that they all like work on probably work in the same restaurant as line cooks, kind of a thing, just chilling, hanging out. And then they do this TV show full time.
so what can you tell me about the sequel? So like Wayne's World, the movie that we have watched, kind of ends pretty successfully. Like Wayne's got the girl, they're in the basement, and they're basically just like, hey, we're not going to sell out to the man. We're just going to keep producing this show,
Yeah,
making art. Where do they go in the sequel? Is it Wayne's World takes Europe or something like that?
it's pretty wild. I'm pretty sure Cassandra. Oh yeah. He wants to marry Cassandra. That's right. So they're still together.
Tia
Um,
Carrera comes back.
Tia Carrera definitely comes back.
That
They
rocks.
finally like move out of his parents' basement, or he moves out of his parents' basement, and they have like this super rad loft. They're still doing Wayne's World full time. But then this is going to sound so wild. He gets a vision, like dream. He gets visited by the ghost of Jim Morrison in his dream in a desert. And Jim Morrison wants him to put on a concert akin to like Woodstock. Um,
Okay.
and the whole premise of the movie is them trying to put on this giant concert in Aurora, Illinois, this like backwoods thing, this giant, and like the whole thing is like you just book the bands and they'll show up and then all the people will come. And it's just the hilarity that ensues there. The villain is Christopher Walken. It's a good time. It's a really
That's
good time.
that's kind of perfect. Is it more like musical as a movie then? Like is it more about like them playing music instead of like producing the show?
It's less about the show and more about like how do we put on this concert kind of a thing. They
Yeah.
have to go find an old roadie overseas. Chris Farley's character comes back. It's a good time. It's a good time.
I think the
We'll
Wayne's World movies and SNL skits are essentially about like everything it takes to produce something
Yeah.
that is reasonably high quality. It's about project management.
At the deep, yeah, in the deep layers, yeah. This movie is all about project management. It's about optimization, synchronization.
It's
Uh, uh,
about SEO.
yep, you got to get the
Um,
SEM rush on it.
yeah,
Confluence, Atlassian, all of it. You got to connect the dots there. Um, this movie spawned several pop culture phrases. Joe, were you aware of that? That this movie held such power, like in conjunction with the skit, the power of the skit, um, from SNL. Like this movie, like launched so many phrases into the
I
lexicon.
I know schwing. I know not.
No.
I know we're not worthy. That's like a big Wayne's World thing,
Mm-mm.
right? When they meet
Yeah,
Alice Cooper.
yeah. Oh my
I
God, we'll
I
come back
was
to Alice Cooper.
actually I was shocked though at a one moment. Is this the first time that's what she said was used?
Yes, yes.
Get out of here.
Get right out of town. No,
Is
yeah.
Michael Scott on The Office then referencing Wayne's World when he first starts doing that?
I mean, Michael Scott, fucking
Steve
Ti
Carell.
Steve Carell, famously, I think he swam in circles of like those comedy pools,
SNL adjacent. Yeah.
SNL adjacent, Upright Citizens Brigade or Second City, that kind of stuff.
He worked with like Colbert a lot, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't. It's not far flung to say that like he was a fan of Mike Myers comedy or SNL and that kind of stuff. So it could be a reference. Like, and honestly, so like one of Michael Scott's famous things is where he writes on the whiteboard of "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Um, Wayne Gretzky, I believe, is the main influence behind Wayne Campbell, um, which is
They do have a scene where they're like playing street hockey for a
Hmm.
second, which I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah, which I remember playing street hockey like that growing up too, where you
Yeah.
had a shitty net and you used the balls in the street and you would just run on your shoes. It's amazing. So much fun. Yeah, the grunge aesthetic is strong in this movie. It's the white light wash jeans with holes
Hmm.
at the knees, tie-dye band shirts, and lots of flannel and denim. The looks on this movie are dynamite.
This is a rock and roll movie. This is a heavy metal movie. Let's talk a little Tia for a second. Tia Carrere is
Tia
awesome in
Carrere,
this movie.
Tia Carrere is great. Those are her original vocals on the songs that she's singing that
I was
showed up on the
wondering.
soundtrack. Yeah, those are
Um,
hers, which is great.
I know Tia Carrere as the voice of Nani, so she's the older sister in Lilo and Stitch, which we will watch at some point because you have not seen Lilo and Stitch, right?
I haven't, but did you know that they did like a series
Yeah,
on Disney?
yeah.
Jeannie loves that, so we've watched that several times.
You've watched
Um,
that,
yeah,
but you haven't
but
watched the original movie.
no, I
Just
tried watching
kidding.
it on a plane to Orlando, but I couldn't get into it, and I just changed the movie last second to something else.
Okay. Well, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
sit you,
okay,
sit you down, and we're gonna get into it.
okay, great. But yeah, I didn't know that. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, she's great in this movie. I think I was trying to think like if we really had to sit down and be like, okay, uncultured universe, Wayne's World, like who are the roles that we're playing? Who's the Wayne, who's the Garth? And then I was like, wait, who's the Cassandra if we're talking like Ryan as kind of the unofficial third host here?
Mm.
And I don't mean to say like Ryan is the Cassandra in this case, because I was almost thinking like on the episodes that she is on, Ryan, famously your wife, is kind of the Wayne in this situation. I could see you as the Garth, which leaves me as the Cassandra. What are your thoughts here?
That is amazing. That is a great read. She does, command a space and
Hmm.
that kind of a thing. And I think you would look great in like a lingerie red top playing a
Yeah,
bass.
yeah.
This is great.
Listeners, please comment on all of our social media platforms who you think is who
Yeah.
between Wayne, Garth, and Cassandra here.
And then also hashtag Joe put it on. Put it on would be hilarious. Famous, well, not even famously. We'll put it on the socials. 1 year for Dragon Con, Ryan and I went as Wayne and Garth. That's why I have this wig and hat.
Oh, that rocks. You
Yeah.
are like wearing the hell out of that wig, by the way.
Oh,
It's like
thanks.
it's part of you now.
Yeah, like it once my hair would stop growing out, it'll grow down. Like the weight will take it down, and it'll just naturally do this.
Is that what
One day.
happens when your hair grows out?
Oh yeah, when my hair grows out, it grows out. It grows this way.
I
It's
think mine does
thin.
that too. Yeah, mine just gets like really tall, and then like
Once it,
if I shampoo it at all, it gains like a foot of height. It's kind of
yeah,
weird.
yeah. You got to let it just weigh itself down. Let gravity do its thing, baby.
I'm
But
just
yeah, we
too young and healthy, and I have too much hair.
too young and healthy. I love it. But yeah, I went as Wayne, and Ryan went as Garth. She like teased her hair because she has blonde hair, so she just teased it up and wore glasses because she wears glasses, and had a pair of drumsticks, and it was great. And we were just Wayne and Garth at walking around Atlanta.
It's
Um,
perfect.
we'll post it. It's great. It's a good. We had some good shots.
And
Um,
next time you do it, y'all's kid is gonna have to be Ed O'Neill.
she would be though. It's really funny. She is kind of a murderer in disguise. Which is great. I want to talk about some like favorite quotes and scenes, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here.
Let's get into
Um,
it.
I said we'd come back around to Alice Cooper. That even though he is problematic in and of himself, Alice Cooper is a garbage man.
Is he
Garbage.
really?
He sucks. Yeah. He's one of those like from the '80s, '70s, like glam rock scene who has been outspoken on the trans space,
Oh,
and it's
come on,
like
Alice.
motherfucker, you were wearing makeup and dressing like a chick in the '70s and '80s. Fuck you.
We don't want to
You're
get into like name determinism or anything like that, but your name is Alice. Like, let's start
right.
there.
Let's just start there. But regardless of terribleness and garbage person levels he's reached now. That scene still fucking kills me when they finally go backstage, Wayne and Garth, and they're like, "Hey, is this cool? Can we come hang out?" And he's just like waxing poetic. And it's like, "Hey, do you come to Milwaukee often?" And he's like, "Well, Milwaukee has had its share of visitors." And the whole back and forth about like Milwaukee being an Algonquin word for the good land, and uh, I think of the phrase so often where he's talking to his guitarist, and his guitarist is like, "Well, hang on, isn't Milwaukee a native name?" And he's like, "Yes, Pete, it is." It's so
I
fucking funny.
I did love the back and forth there about Milwaukee. It also did feel like an SNL episode with a celebrity guest, like how you would have like
Right.
Alice Cooper come into a Wayne's World skit and then just suddenly be spitting facts about Milwaukee.
Yeah, and then immediately Wayne goes, "Does this guy know how to party or what?" uh, Another one of my favorite quotes ever is, so first of all, Laura Flynn Boyle as the insane ex-girlfriend who can't take a hint is so
Mhm.
hilarious. Like her like physical comedy in this movie is great. The
This is like fresh off of or right in the middle of Twin Peaks, yeah?
Yeah, I think just before they did a Fire Walk with Me movie.
Okay.
So she's riding high on the coattails of that, which is great. But she gives him a gun rack as a present, and he goes like, "I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would
Oh my
necessitate
god.
an entire rack."
Justin, I almost wrote that down. How he says "a
I,
gun" in that scene. I was like, we need to talk about this.
I say the word "a" like that on purpose so many times because of
I
this
don't
movie, and
even
it's so
own a
a
gun.
gun. Like, it's so funny. I love it. Um, did you catch Rob Lowe's iconic literally
I
phrase?
did. I
Love
did.
it.
So he's bringing that to Chris Traeger in Parks and Rec.
Yep, I love it.
God, Wayne's World is just so foundational to like so many bits of comedy in the
It really
2000s
is.
now.
It really, really is. Both you and I know there's no film in this camera, and that's such just a good gaggy bit of just like opening the camera and the film just spools out. It's so fucking great. Um, of course, I love Cream of Some Young Guy. Um, Fucking hilarious. And then, yeah, we already talked about the Ed O'Neill stuff of just being this deranged psycho killer hiding in plain sight. Did you scream out loud when Robert Patrick shows up as the T-1000?
Oh, the T-1000. This must have been like prime time for that, like right as Judgment Day is out, right? Like that's
Still
92,
riding
right?
high. Judgment Day was 91. So
91.
it's like within the year of that
Yeah.
movie coming out that they got Robert Patrick to be like, "Hey, can you just do this bit thing real quick?"
Lauren was like, weird. We have an extra 100K in the budget right now. Who can we
Yeah, what
get?
are we gonna do? Who can we
Let's
get?
have a random scene with Robert Patrick.
Yeah. Super great. I fucking love it.
Uh,
Um,
there
yeah, what else you got?
yeah, I'm kind of just like combing through my notes. There were like some stupid moments that I just laughed out loud at. There's a moment where um Wayne and Cassandra are like meeting for the first time. They're up on the rooftop, they're flirting. And then it's revealed that like he's like, yeah, I learned a little Cantonese for you because she is Cantonese. And so they start speaking in Cantonese and they have like a conversation that is subtitled that becomes like more and more detailed. Like he's saying these like insanely detailed things in Cantonese, like it's nothing.
I
And then
know.
there's a moment, the recognition that Wayne has of subtitles in this movie is so funny.
Yeah.
There's a moment where like he says like something that's like 3 words long and the
Mhm.
subtitles just like keep on going
He's just like,
going and going, and I was like, oh, this is such classic 90s, but I love it.
it really
um
is.
and then back to like the Milwaukee part there. I was a little confused and I didn't look this up, but when they first arrive in Milwaukee, the reason they're in Milwaukee is like they have tickets to this Alice Cooper
Yeah, yeah,
concert.
yeah.
That's when they meet Alice Cooper. They first arrive in Milwaukee and they do this like montage. Is it Laverne and Shirley? Is that what they're
Yes,
doing?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. They're essentially like they're they do it's like filmed in an entirely different way, and suddenly they're just like doing the opening credits of Laverne and Shirley, and then
It's
they're like,
amazing.
wait, what are we doing?
We have concerts at Alice Cooper. Let's go. Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, and Garth is Laverne because he has the smock with the L on it. It's so great.
they're they're in like a factory in like overalls and stuff.
Yeah, it's such a that is such a SNL thing to like mock an older TV show or something like shot for shot. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
Oh,
Uh,
fantastic.
yeah. A couple other fun facts, and then we'll round out here. That's actually Dana Carvey playing the drums in the music store. Dana Carvey can play drums. He's a drummer,
That rocks.
which is great. So fun. This was Mike Myers' feature film debut. This is the first time he was on the big screen. And Bohemian Rhapsody was almost Welcome to the Jungle. Lorne Michaels said he wanted
Oh,
something more current, not a
it,
song from 20 years ago.
oh, it's so much better as Bohemian Rhapsody.
And Mike Myers fought him on it. He said, "I'm going to walk if we don't put this song in this movie." So they fought back and forth. But turns out filming that scene was a pain in the ass anyway, because they made him do it over and over again. That's why Mike Myers is headbanging like this, because his neck hurts so bad.
Oh my
He was going
god,
so hard in previous takes that they didn't get. That's why he's kind of headbanging in an awkward way, but super great. And
Justin,
I remember headbanging to this song, to Bohemian Rhapsody, with my dad in the car, and it's great. Like
that
because of this
rocks.
movie. Because of this movie.
Just a generation of kids and their fathers rocking out to Wayne's World. I love it.
I love it. It's what you do.
It also
Uh,
has to be said there's a scene in this movie where they're talking about like Wayne and Garth selling out and succumbing to product placement, and they keep saying like they won't do it as they're advertising like different products, and the way like they literally like are using a different camera lens and it looks like an advertisement for like McDonald's in the 90s, and they're
it's
doing
so
like
good.
Pepsi and Doritos and Reebok. Oh, I was laughing.
That one's so good. The first one of just like I won't bend to any advertiser, and then he opens up the pizza box of Pizza Hut, and it's just like I love what they're doing here. And then
It's the
cap
choice of a generation.
yeah, and then capping off with Garth in the head to toe Reebok gear, which is so good. I love it. This movie is so iconic and so great and beloved by many. I think it transcends the SNL space, the SNL shtick of some of the other films that got turned into feature length based off skits. Um, it holds a special place in my heart just because of like the type of movie it is and the type of humor it is. Of course, the rock and roll nature about it and all that kind of stuff. I love this movie, and I'm so glad you got to experience it. Any other last minute stuff you got before we jump into Endgame?
It's such a Justin movie.
It is.
I was pleasantly surprised by how like I don't know, like good natured it is. It's not like punching down as
Yeah.
much in any areas like you think it would. Um, I don't know. I I'm interested in checking out the sequel at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna come back and we're gonna revisit this movie, the Wayne's World 2. We're gonna come back. We're gonna watch Scream 2 at some day.
We're gonna have
Uh,
to spend like 6 months just like watching
watching
adjacent
sequels.
movies to all of the movies that we've covered, just to kind
Yeah,
of catch up.
and then we'll watch A Family's Stone. We'll watch the sequel to that one, where we meet Sarah Jessica Parker's family, which will be great and hilarious. Uh,
The
and then
Family Stones.
the Family Stone. That's great. Cool. So we're gonna shift gears and jump right into Endgame here, Joe. I hope you are ready.
Never am.
It's Joturday Night Live, starring Joe Murphy, a piece of toast. Welcoming back for his 30th season, it's Joe Murphy. And here's your host, Joe Murphy.
So, Joe, I was originally going to do something so mean and off the wall, but Ryan said that's not a good idea. You should do this instead. I was going to make you like do an SNL opening monologue off the top of your head and take you through SNL skits?
It'd be okay. I could pull it off. It might not be enjoyable for everyone.
But ultimately, we're going to do something else. Um, here's the layout and the only rules I'm going to give you. Joe, your buzz-in word is schwing. Your
Okay.
buzz-in word is schwing. Feel free to buzz in with your word whenever you'd like.
Are we doing like an improv thing?
Let's get started. Joe, when I was debating doing this movie for the podcast, I was a little uncertain at first. But after a while, I said to myself, just do it. I mean, there's nothing holding me back. This is our podcast. We can do whatever we want. No rules, just right. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, give me a break. Give me a break, Justin. This was a fun movie. You chose well. To which I would say, thank you, Joe. With me, you're in good hands. N- Okay. Okay. Now, I do truly love this movie and love what the director, Penelope Spheris, did with the subject matter. Maybe she's born with it. Who knows? But bottom line is, this movie for me is just so finger licking good.
Schwing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Justin, one thing I can really appreciate when we're making a show like this is that your audio comes through crystal clear in these Bose headphones that I have. Bose noise canceling headphones. Now available on Amazon.com. I just
Alexa,
wanted to
order Bose headphones.
I just wanted to let you know that.
Oh, great, good. It obviously holds a lot of nostalgia for me, this movie, and it feels, instantly transportative to the simpler times of the 90s. All I can think of when I watch this movie is, man, I'm loving it and having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Schwing. The one thing I was missing from Wayne's World while watching it, and it's really just like sat in my craw this whole entire time, is that they didn't really have the meats, and I really prefer a movie that tends to have the meats, as it were.
You want them to say,
Um,
we have the meats of the movie.
I want them to at least say it.
Yeah.
Whether or not they produce the meat itself is up for them to decide. But I'd like to at least be assured that they have it in some capacity.
The meats.
Schwing.
The meats. Yep. To me, Mike Myers and co. decided to think different about their approach to this movie. For starters, it holds dear some of the beloved nuances about the original SNL sketch while expanding on that universe. And the jokes, oh man, Joe, the jokes, they just keep going and going and going. Now,
Schwing.
mm,
Yeah, I'm just really glad, like Wayne and Garth in Wayne's World, like you and I could team up in an Atlassian sense to really talk through this.
yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. I mean, for starters, I love the visual gags of this flick. Garth's ridiculous car, the Mirthmobile, like what a name, right? It's so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's the ultimate driving machine. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the-
Schwing. Should have had a Tesla. Schwing.
I don't think Tesla was around back then, but no big deal. Uh,
Schwing. Tesla's always been around. Schwing.
Nikola Tesla, David Bowie, never forget. The flashback sequences make me laugh so hard, as well as the Dreamweaver sequences. This was also the first movie I remember hearing a cop pig joke, it really stuck with me. Seems like Mike Myers thinks the youth of America runs on Duncan on law enforcement, which is great.
Schwing. When I think pig, I think Oscar Mayer bacon. And I really think that you should be thinking that too.
I should.
Schwing.
Bottom line, Joe, I'm glad we got to cover this flick. I think this movie is built to last because of simple premise and simple dumb humor. Now, there are some things money can't buy. And to me, that's the talent that this movie holds and the talent that went into it as well. There
Mhm.
was truly great imagination at work that brought these characters to life.
Mhm. Schwing. Home Depot. Schwing.
What is Home Depot's? I can't remember. Ultimately, I hope this movie gives you wings and inspires you to think outside the bun for our next SNL episode.
Mm.
Game over.
Schwing. Does OnlyFans have
Catchphrase?
a slogan?
I
I'll look it
don't
up
know. It
later.
should. It should. Yeah, let me get on OnlyFans later just to see what their slogan is. That's the end of the game, Joe. I like what you did with it. What I was hoping you would do is catch all of the hidden slogans and buzz in and tell me what they are.
Oh, that's what you wanted me. I turned this into like an insane improv moment.
Hey, it's all good. That's what we do. That's why we keep rolling, baby.
Hey, Justin,
mm,
I'm gonna make the game on the next episode a living hell for you.
I can't wait. So for those of you keeping track, it's at home, there were 16 slogans hidden into that little diatribe I just gave, starting with just do
If
it. That is
if you want me
19.
to if you want to list them off, I'll try and answer.
Okay,
them now.
yeah. Just do it.
That's Nike.
No rules, just right.
No rules, just right.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
That's Outback Steakhouse, baby.
Oh, I've never been.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
Okay.
Give me a break. Give me a break.
That's Kit Kat.
Yep. You're in good hands.
That's Allstate.
Yep. Maybe she's born with it.
That's Maybelline.
Finger licking good.
That is KFC.
I'm loving it.
That's McDonald's.
Think different.
Think different. Is that like Apple?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it really?
Lean in. Yeah. You got it.
Wow.
Just keeps going and going and going.
That's someone's slogan. Just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
That's Energizer batteries, baby. It's the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going. The ultimate driving machine. It's BMW.
Tesla.
Tesla again. We're not sponsored by Tesla. Could you imagine the garbage people we would be? America runs on Dunkin'.
I think that's Panera.
Starbucks. Built to last.
Built to last. Tesla.
Close. It's Ford. There are some things money can't buy. Tesla.
Some things money can't buy.
For everything else,
JG Wentworth.
Yep. MasterCard. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Imagination at work.
Disney.
This is a deep cut. That's General Electric.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Gives you wings.
That's Red Bull.
And think outside the bun.
Think outside the bun is
Panera.
Wendy's.
Wendy's. That's right.
Is it really Wendy's?
No, it's Taco Bell. Come on.
Oh shit.
Why would they want you to? They want you to think inside the bun with their hamburgers. That was great. That was Joturday Night Live. Had nothing to do with the famous sketch comedy show on NBC. But I had fun with it. It was one of those things where, I come up with a premise and an idea of a theme song in my head before I come up with the game.
Yeah, I do that every episode.
It's wonderful. Joe, that was Wayne's World. I'm so glad I got to share that piece of myself with you. Like you said, it is a total Justin movie. But yeah, I'm excited for your pick next. Where are we going now?
So if people couldn't guess, part of my culture that I will be sharing with Justin in our next episode, closing off our Saturday Night Live miniseries, is the movie Superstar. So we will be donning our Catholic schoolgirl uniforms and taking a walk with Miss Mary Catherine Gallagher.
Amazing.
We're going to be talking about Molly Shannon's iconic character and what they did with her in the movie, which I am really excited to talk about.
I cannot wait. That movie passed me by. I was still too young, I think, to stay up that late to watch SNL, so I had no idea what that movie was about when it came out.
It's around the same time. It's like early to mid 90s, I think, as Wayne's World. And I'm interested to talk about like the similarities of like the sketch to movie pipeline for these two movies, but also
Yeah.
where they get a little different because Supergirl is weird as fuck. And as always, there's going to be some fun cameos that we'll get to talk through.
I can't wait for all of it. This is going to be exciting. That's going to be a fun one. Joe, if you are not in a cheerleading uniform or a habit or anything like that, I'm going to strangle you. But this will be
I
fun.
also I just realized that I said Supergirl. It's Superstar.
Superstar. Yeah.
Superstar. Right.
I knew what you meant, but maybe nobody else did, which is
Yeah.
fine. Anyway, that is Uncultured Universe, does SNL, does Wayne's World. Check us out on all the socials at Uncultured Universe, and be on the lookout for our Superstar episode coming to your ears and eyeballs soon. Bye. Peace out.
Peace out. Schwing.